अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। So we are continuing to see the different aspects of what is this Brahman or what is the Atma. The nature of the Atma is being discussed. Atma here is being referred as Kshetrajna, or the knower of the field. In the previous class we saw this Atma is the one which is Bahir Antascha, the one which is inside and outside. So when I say inside and outside, it means it encompasses everything. So there cannot be only inside or outside. There cannot be anything else other than that. Either it is outside or it is inside. And when I say Atma is Bahir Antascha, that means that which is inside and outside, that which is Bhutanam Acharam, that which is the source of every living beings here. Bhutanam Acharam, that which does not move. And Charam Evacha, also those which move. So anything which does not move, anything which moves also is covered under the Atma. So inside, outside. Anything which is moving in the living beings, anything which is not moving in the living beings, also the non-moving things also. For example, mountains, rivers, trees, plants, those things which does not move. They sway sometimes, but they do not go from place to place. Stone. So all of them are covered under Brahma. So anything which is seen here is this Atma, and because it is of this nature of this inner, what it calls, very, very subtle, it is said also Sukshmatvat. So Sukshmatvat means that which is very, very subtle. It is not something you can grasp. Atma is not something you can understand it easily. So it is very subtle, Sukshatma. And that Abhigneyam, it means that which cannot be known also. So Brahman is something which cannot be known. You cannot go and study for a degree called Brahman. Or Brahma Vidya, when you say, it means Brahma Vidya means that knowledge about Brahman is being taught. But there is no degree or certificate given saying that you are qualified now, Brahma Vidwan. Because it is not something to be taught, it is not something to be achieved. That is why there is no Vedanta degree here. There is no college which teaches Vedanta. You can go to a 3-year course, you can do 5-year course just we are doing here now. But after the end of the course, you will have to assess yourself as to where you stand. Whether you understand or not is up to the individual person. So there is no exam given saying that you pass or you fail. There is nothing exam like this. Because it is a continuous assessment you have to do every day and every walk of your life. Till you attain Brahmagyanam, till you achieve everything, once you are certain that all has been taught is assimilated, there are no more doubts, then at that time you can declare yourself, you can take ownership, saying Aham Brahma Asmi. So Aham Brahma Asmi is not some topic to be achieved. It is something which is already there. You have to only take ownership of that aspect which you have not taken ownership so far. That's why it says here that Abhigneyam. So that which is not known. So in fact, in the Kenopanishad, we see that avijñātam vijanatam. That means the person who does not know Brahman, who claims he doesn't know Brahman, knows Brahman. And vijanatam avijñātam. A person who claims that he knows Brahman does not know Brahman at all. So when you are asked, do you know Brahman? He says, yes, I know what Brahman is. Then the next question you'll ask, what? Can you show it to me? See, any object you say, if you say, I know, then what the person will ask? Oh, I don't know, sir, about this. Then what do? You say, oh, I would like to show you this. This is how it is. But in case somebody asks you, do you know Brahman? And your answer is yes. Then next question will be asked, can you show it to me? You yourself have not seen Brahman, first of all. You yourself don't know what Brahman is. It is something which is available within you for perception. It is you who are experiencing. How can you show your experience to other people? Right. You can only explain what it is, but you can never quantify, you can never show that things. See, an experience which you have got is something which you already have within yourself. You cannot replicate the experience which you have with other person, because he or she may have a different experience. Even the quantum, the quality of experience may also differ. The place will differ, time will differ. So it is not possible. That's why he says here, avijñēyam, not knowable. Then durastaha means it appears to be very far. So duraha means what? It appears very, very far for a person who is searching for happiness. So this person goes around the entire world doing tirtha yatra, going to every temple, every performance of rituals, religiously performing all those things, etc. And he's searching for the happiness which is right now available in your hand. So in Hastamalaka Gitam, Hasta Amalakaha. So Hastamalaka Acharya is one of the Acharyas of Adi Shankara. And he had the information in his hand. And nobody could see it because he had everything in his hand and nobody could see it. But he knew he had information. So it is like having something within you and then looking for everywhere. Anandaha. So that is why it's called Durastaha. So it looks very, very far away for a person who does not know what Brahman is. At the same time, it is very near also. When you say how very near, the nearness is as good as your own understanding of what Brahman is. Say your vrittis, your thoughts. Are they very far from you at all? They are not very far. Your thoughts are very much there with you all the time and they are just very, very close. They are not even separate. And the very thoughts or the vrittis which are rising in your mind, the source of that is the Atma. That's why it says Atma is the source of everything. And that which is na antike chaha means antike means what is very near. So it is very near. At the same time, it is very far for a person who cannot understand what Brahman is. It is inside, it is outside, it is present in all the living beings which are moving or non-moving. It is also present in all the immobile beings. It is sukshmam, it is very, very subtle. It is not knowable that easily. So all these attributes are given for understanding Brahman. So what you have to arrive or we have to see is when you apply these attributes, is there anything that is excluded? Is there any exclusion which is there in this one which cannot be treated as the Atma? See, one line, antar bahishya. It means what? Everything inside outside. It doesn't qualify even saying. Anything which is inside you, anything which is outside you is the Atma. Finished. So what do you say? One statement, general statement. Anything which you quantify. Inside your mind, thoughts. Outside your mind, experience. Objects. Physical body, outside of you. Inside of you, the mind. So the mind, the body, mind, sense complex, the sensory powers, sensory organs, ahankara, manaha, buddhi, all of them, and all the prapancha, the world, universe world, is all Atma, all Brahman. So this is what we saw in the previous class. Now we go into verse number 16. He just elaborates a little bit more about that. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhaktam iva vibhaktam iva cha sthitam, vibhaktam iva cha astitam, bhuta brutcha tatadnyam, bhuta bruttatadnyam, vishnishnu prabha vishnu cha. So abhivaktam, when I say here, it is called undivided. Avibhaktam means undivided. So division is not there in Brahman. Division is there only when it comes to the upadhi. Example, when you look at yourself in the mirror, the normal mirror will reflect one entity of it, correct? One aspect of it. But if you have multiple mirrors, or one long mirror which has got the concave, convex, all those kind of things, your appearance also is divided, correct? So sometimes you go to a museum, what do? We see this mirror which is placed, and we would like to stand in front of it and see how funny we look. Sometimes the nose looks very big. Sometimes you look tiny. Your pants look wider. You look very short. You look very tall. All of them are seen at the same time. Right? In one mirror, you see. You just move from mirror to mirror. You see the impression what you have, and you enjoy that. But as a person, are you divided or undivided? You are not divided, correct? You are undivided as a person, but the division appears because of the upadhi being present. The manifesting medium is the one responsible for the appearance to be as many. So Atma being one, or the consciousness being one, it appears in the minds of different people. So I got a mind, you got a mind, Gopalji has got a mind, everybody's got their own mind. So this one consciousness, one Atma, appears to be as several minds, because it takes the reflecting medium and then it becomes with that. So sahaja tadatmiyam means natural association. This is something which you cannot physically remove. The association between the Atma and the mind cannot be removed physically. It is something to be removed cognitively. So whenever the mind wakes up, consciousness infuses or gives life to the mind becomes illuminated. But you don't see that, correct? You do not see whether the mind is illuminated or not. How do you know? You see. When you see the objects, when you hear the objects, when you feel the touch, you know there is consciousness. Correct? So, and it is very, very subtle and it is very natural. There's no process. It doesn't do any activity called illuminating. It just connects automatically. Just like, in the mobile phone, if you got Bluetooth, see, Bluetooth is example. So when you program your Bluetooth, right, to connect to network, and if you go to my house or if you go to Siddharji's house, you put the password in there. As long as you don't change the password, so when I go to your house, my mobile phone immediately connects to your network, correct? Do I do any activity called connecting? I do not. So wherever place I go, the phone finds a network, it connects itself, and then the transaction happens. So immediately I can send a message to you, I can talk to you, I can do this, correct? So this is natural connection. It happens. The same way, when such a jada purul like mobile phone can connect itself like this. Imagine the mind is such a subtlest thing, and it connects automatically. The consciousness gives power to the mind, and the mind illumines everything. So that is why it's called as avibhaktam, undivided. So one consciousness, one Atma appearing as many, but still undivided as ekam. Then avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. So bhuteshu means what? In all the living beings. So it is present as undivided in all the living beings. Yet divided in the being because of the upadhi. Undivided in all the living beings as one Atma, but divided, appears to be divided. Appears, it's not divided. Appears to be divided because of the manifesting medium. This example also would be clay. A clay is one single item, correct? It doesn't matter. But a clay can be made in several pots. So you cannot say this clay is different from that clay because pot is actually only one form. Pot is only a form, correct? The source of the pot is the clay. The same clay appears in multiple forms as different pots. Small pot, big pot, colorful pot, all the kinds of pots, correct? Same way, consciousness of Atma appears in our body mind sense complex called a pot. You can say this. Okay, we can treat our body like a pot only. So when the pot breaks, what happens? The pot loses its form. Correct? The pot loses the form, and what remains is clay. Same way, when the body disappears, what remains is consciousness, Atma. Hope you are able to follow, right? Example. So some people ask, what happens if I die? Nothing will happen. When you say you are dying, it means that the pot breaks. Same way, your body also goes. So just as when the pot breaks, the parts of the pot are collected by the pot maker, and he makes another pot. Now, depending upon how much parts he can salvage, he will have one pot or two pot, or he will not have any pots, or he'll wait for some more clay to come in, correct? And then he will make another pot. The same way, when our body departs this world, the pot breaks. It is possible that there is enough punya karma left in the bank for you to take immediate birth. Supposing you don't have that kind of punyam there, so you'll have to wait for some more time. So we wait for some more time, maybe some few years before another body is coming to existence. So you will see why people are getting, some people are, they get immediately born within 9 months, 10 months. Some people take 9 years. Right? Some people take, they are children, they come after 9 years, 10 years. Some people do not have it all. So all this is because of the same philosophy behind it. So depending on how you pass, whatever punyam you got, and how much is left there clamoring for the body to come, that particular body comes into existence. Correct? So that's what it says here. So bhuteshu, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. So vibhaktam, when it says, it's seemingly divided. Vibhaktam means seemingly divided. It appears to be divided. An example I can also give you is from the 3 states of experience. Avastatraya prakriya. Avastatraya prakriya. So prakriya is a method, and avastatrayaha means 3 different avastas or 3 different states of experience. And trayaha means there are 3. So we have 3 states of experience: waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. So in the waking state, what do you call? You'll say, I am a waker. I am a listener. I am a writer. Correct? All those things you say in the waking state. Correct? So I am a waker. Then in the dream state, when you go after this to dream state, you become, I am a dreamer. So from the waker state, you go to dreamer. Correct? So what changes now? The state changes. The nomenclature changes from a waker to a dreamer. Correct? Hope you're following. From a waker name to a dreamer name. Correct? From a listener name to sleeper name. So sometimes you listen, sometimes you just doze off. Correct? Sometimes people can't be seen because they are already flat on the sofa there. So it is, so you alternate between different states of experience. So you become you are a waker, then again you become a sleeper. Again you wake up, again you sleep. So again you dream, again you. So what is that which changes? The state only changes, correct? Your position as the doership changes. You are a waker, you are a dreamer, correct? You are a sleeper. All these things changes. But in all of these changes, invariably, there is one thing which doesn't change, is the I, correct? So the I, as the you as a knower, do you change? You do not change. But you change because, or the change appears to be changing because of the status which is there. That's why it's called vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. So vibhaktam means it seems to be divided. Then, so avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva. So it remains undivided as one Atma in everybody. Okay. So you cannot say there is a waker Atma, there is a dreamer Atma and a sleeper Atma. You cannot have. Because then Atma becomes multiple. Many Atmas are there. But Atma is only one, Ekam. But due to the association of the Atma of the mind, it gets different nomenclature. So the waker comes into existence, the dreamer comes into existence, the sleeper comes into existence. So in all the 3 states of experience, Atma, the consciousness, is always there, which does not undergo any change at all. So remaining sthitam, steady, it's from undivided, it becomes divided due to the upadhi. From divided becomes again undivided because of lack of upadhi. Is it clear? So because the manifesting medium is not there, so if you take the mirror away from, then your face is no longer visible. But you can never negate yourself, correct? Can you negate yourself saying, I'm not there? you are definitely there. The manifesting medium is gone, that's the reflection is gone. The same way, it appears to be divided because of the manifesting medium upadhi being there. At the same time, it is actually undivided. So division occurs because of the association with the manifesting medium. Without the manifesting medium, it is undivided or unmanifest. That's what it's trying to say here. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Then it is bhuta brit. So bhuta brit means, in Vishnu Sahasranama, you got bhuta krit, bhuta brit bhavo. Right. So bhutatma, bhuta bhavanaha. Right. So bhuta krit, bhuta brit. So bhuta krit means what? The creator of all the living beings or the originator of all living beings. Then bhuta brit means sustainer of all the living beings. The one who is the holder, who is the sustainer of everything here. Sustainer of all the living beings and elements is called bhuta brit. Then tad nyayam, that is to be known. How it is to be known? Brahman has to be known as the one which is undivided, seemingly appears to be divided because upadhi, that which is of the nature of sustainer of the entire universe, and Grasishnu. See, Grasishnu means the devourer or the resolver. So, Grasishnu means when the whole pralaya, Mahapralaya happens, there will be a complete dissolution. So, there is no destruction. All of this will become again unmanifest. Hopefully, by the time end of Kali Yuga, all of us will be educated, will become Vedantic experts. We have discovered that I am the Atma and there's no Vedantic teaching required anymore. There may not be any teachers anymore at the end of the Kali Yuga. Because by that time, there will be no teachers anyway. So when Kali Yuga, Kali Muktirthanchamo, what people say, when Kali is really dancing, Tamil we say, Talaivirithu Kolam Adradhu. So it is dancing like it's all everywhere. It means that all dharma is floated. Dharma will stand only on one leg. In peak Kali Yuga, dharma will never be able to even withstand. Everything will be done according to the wish of the people. Whatever they feel they will do, whatever they eat they will do. There will be no dharma at all. And that is the time when the Kali Yuga is supposed to end. Or when, as and when we see going towards Kali Yuga, you will see dharma being slowly being not followed. See, even Vedanta Shastram will also diminish over a period of time. There are not people, today we are all studying Shastram, etc. Maybe in 20 years' time, who knows? Already next class we do not know. Forget about today. Adutha class korola doubt da, correct? Today I was talking to somebody in the morning. She said, I like the class, Shastram. First day, 18 people came. So slowly it will come down. I told him, ultimately there will be 4 people in the class. 4 or 5 people only will withstand the whole impact because it is very high impact. Continuously, week after week, you have to come to the class. You have to come and take notes, listen to the same Atma, Brahman consciousness, etc. How many years will I tolerate this? It is difficult, right? Because so many things are clamoring. Right? Just like when you take the physical body and you're born, there are so many things I want. So there are so many, punyam and papam which are rising there, and they're clamoring for the physical body. So let me give me chance to take birth. So papam will say, let him be a papa karma today. I'm very strong here. So in the same way, materialistic pursuits are pushing everybody. Right? So it is very difficult to balance so many things. And something breaks immediately. Up. You pump the balloon too much. What happens? It just breaks. So the same way here also, what he's trying to say here is a difficult thing. So Grasishneshu means when the whole Mahapralaya happens, when everybody becomes, or the time has come for the whole Srishti to be reborn again, then all of this will be resolved into the same consciousness. So there is really no destruction at all. It is only manifesting and unmanifesting. Then Prabha Vishnu Cha. So Prabha Vishnu Cha means he is a creator. So when the Mahapralaya is over, there will be a new Srishti, new order. Again there will be, Satya Yuga, Krita Yuga will come. So that Yuga will be people live for thousands of years. Because it will be a clean slate. All papam is all gone. Whatever you to be achieved in the Kali Yuga, you have suffered enough. Right? So we are suffering now. People as they come also, they may suffer more. More difficulties will come. The world order also will change. There will be more wars, there will be more famine, there will be less food available. In Bhagavatam, there are prophecies, 20 prophecies are there. What does Bhagavatam say? That by the end of Kali Yuga, there will be, people will fight for each other. There will be no respect for brothers and sisters. There will be no respect for even for women also. No gurus will be respected, no Bhagavan will be respected. So that is the way the Kali Yuga will progress. And that's a time when the new avatara will come to restore dharma in the order. So Kali Bhagavan will come there as a Kali avatar, Kalki avatara. So when the avatara comes, at a time it will be restored to some extent so that it can continue and then go back into again Srishti. So Prabha Vishnu Cha, the meaning, it means the creator. So Prabha Vishnu, the creator, Grasishnu, the devourer, and Bhuta Brit means the sustainer. So creator, sustainer, and the resolver. So three things are there, correct? For anything to be created, it has to come into existence. Once it comes into existence, it has to be sustained. Correct? Then after sustaining, it has to, over a period of time, it will diminish. It has to go back into its original source. So this Bhagavan or this Atma here is talked about as Avibhaktam, Vibhaktam, Sthitam, Bhutabhrit, Tat Nyayam, Grasishneshu, Prabha Vishnu. You got the idea? These are all indications about Brahman. See, Brahman, first of all, Atma cannot be even talked about. Somebody will ask me a question. You see, Atma is not described at all. Atma cannot be talked about. Why are you talking about Atma like this? See, initially when you understand and study, you need to know what it is. After you understood what the Atma is, you cannot go and discuss, Atma is equal to Bhuta Brit. Atma is equal to Prabha Vishnu. Atma is equal to, you cannot talk like this. It is only understanding what it is. So, when you understand it, you assimilate it, and then you do the vichara, Atma vichara. It is not for discussion, it is not for writing in theories, it is not writing for anything. It is only for our understanding. It should rise in the mind, it should stay in the mind. So, Nyayam Brahma is unfolded by these verses. Then verse 17, Jyotishamapi tat jyotihi, Jyotishamapi tat jyotihi, tamasah paramuchyate, tamasah paramuchyate, jyotishamapi tajyoti, tamasah paramuchyate, jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam, jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam, tridi sarvasya vishishtitam, tridi sarvasya vishtitam. So, Hidi sarvasya vishtitam, jyotisham api. So, this Brahman or this Jneyam Brahma. Okay. So, Jneyam Brahma is the one which is called Jyotisham api Jyotihi. So, light of the lights. Jyotisham api Jyotihi. So, Jyoti means light and Jyotisham api means light of the lights. And how is it? It is tamasah paraha. See, tamasah paraha means, tamas means it is one of the gunas. And tamas also means ignorance. So, when you are tamasic in nature, you are very lethargic. Correct. So, tamasic means sleep. So, when you're tamasic, you are feeling very lethargic and sleepy. At that time, what? There is ignorance coming there. Correct. Because when you are not active, sattvic gunam is not there, rajogunam is very active, then you are still okay, you can listen to things. But when tamas takes over, nidra takes over, then ignorance is very, very possible. Because you would not be able to understand, you would not be able to, you are in a different state of mind. So, tamasah paraha, it means what? Beyond ignorance. Adityavarnam tamasah parastat. See, Purusha Suktam, right? Tamevam vidvan amrita iha bhavati. Nanya panta vidyathe yanaya. So, na anya pantaha, there is no other way. So, there also same thing. Purusha Suktam, same thing says there, correct? So, Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parasta. So, what it means? Aditya sun. And Aditya Varnam, the rays of the sun, when it comes, it removes all ignorance. Tamasah Parasta. So, Tamasah Paraha means that which is crossing the ignorance, that which is illumining all the darkened objects. So, at night time, we cannot see things clearly because the moonlight is only a fraction of the light of the sun. So, it can illumine only partly. But when the sun comes in the morning, when it rises, you see everything in clear daylight. You see without everything you can see. Whatever your eyes can perceive, you can see up to that level. And it does not hide anything. It reveals everything as it is. So, Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat means, same thing here. What does Jyotish do? Jyotisham api Jyotihi, Tamasah Param Uchyate. So, Uchyate means say. So, Uchyate means it is said that this light of the lights is capable of crossing the ignorance or removing the ignorance. So, Jnanam Jneyam. So, Jnanam means that is to be known. That is knowledge. Jneyam means that is to be known. So, knowledge and that through which it is to be known. Jnana Gamyam. That is to be arrived by knowledge. Means after you have to first know what it is. Then you have to know how to know. Then you have to arrive at that particular place, correct? So you need to know the destination also. You need to know the means, the method, and also where to achieve, what to achieve also. So Jnana Gamyam. So Gamanam means go or to achieve. So Jnana Gamyam means that which is to be achieved, that which is to be arrived. And how do you arrive it? Hridihi sarvasya. So hridihi here means not heart. Hridi means in the mind. So this has to be arrived only in the mind of the person. You cannot go and search for the Atma anywhere else. You cannot say that that experience which I had is the Atma. Because ultimately, all of the experience which you are having, or all anubhava you are having, or anumanam you are having, inference you are having, is nothing, is all because of the Atma being present. So all experience, all miracles, all happenings, all events are Atma. So they are all happening because of the Atma. But Atma is not the experience. Okay. Atma is not the experience, Atma is not the miracle, Atma is not the object, but every object, every experience, every miracle is nothing but the Atma. Hope you able to see the difference, right? Water is not the wave. Water is just water. But every wave is nothing but water. Every wave and every foam which is seen in the wave also is water. All the ocean which are there is nothing but water. So you have to arrive at that from the perspective. So jnanam, jneyam, jnanagamyam, hridi sarvasya vishtitam means it is present. So that is present in the mind of everybody. So you do not have to go and search for Brahman anywhere else. So no, I have to go and search for this Atma. Atma, I have to find out now. See, it's also one of the things. Atma Anubhavananda, there are people out there. There are all a lot of people who are searching for this experience. See, I had to find this Ananda. I had to find this happiness. So, in fact, most of the things you see that they are all searching for something. Shastram says that you don't have to search anything. Why do you want to search for anything? After all this thing, what do? You are having property, you are having progeny, children, job, security, everything for what? For happiness, correct? And these are not going to give you happiness because you're still not happy. Despite you are having all these things, you're still not happy. That is why you're searching for happiness, correct? If you're already happy, then you would not be searching for it. There is something lacking in life. There's something which is not complete. So you do not know what that is. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have put everything there. There's one somewhere in the middle you do not know how to join. So you are searching for that. And you can arrange whichever way you want, the combination, but letters won't come. So you change that way, it doesn't gel. So unless somebody comes and tells you that, no, this is not right, this is how you put this way, you do this, then it will come. See, it is like, in the Upanishad, there's a story called the 10th man. So there was one Acharya who was having a class. He had some Sishyas. And Sishyas, after they completed the class, they wanted to go out. The Acharya said, it is raining very outside, very heavily. And they want to cross the river and go other side. He said, you don't need to go there. You already finished the class. Why don't you stay in the ashram, have food? Satsang, and no, say we have been having this class for many months now. I just want to take these boys out. I want to go other side of the river. So this Acharya, the other leader, the Prathama student, he takes the students for the river. So it is raining heavily, he crosses the river, he takes them to the other side of the river. And because it is dark and it is night, he does not know how many people crossed. He thinks that somebody would have been left behind or somebody would be, because the river is flowing very fast, the rain is coming, and they have to go across the river, across the tide. Sometimes, people will fall and tumble into the water, they will wake up, other person will go across. So when he goes across the other side, he starts to count how many people are there. He knows when he started, he had 10 people. We had 10 people there. So when he went the other side of the fence, he starts to count. So he says, all of you line up together like this. So they all line up. So he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again he counts from this side when 9 people are there. But Acharya told me that we had 10 people, we had 10 students. So he is worried that the 10th student may be somewhere drowned. So he doesn't tell the other students there. He goes and looks for in the river and sees if there is any head bobbling around somewhere there. Meanwhile, one other person comes there, one jnani comes there. He says, what are you searching in the water? He said, no, Guruji, we had 10 people who cross the river and I can only see 9 people there. So I'm looking for the 10th person. So he says, that is very simple, very easy. Why don't you come with me? I'll sort it out for you. So he says, you come with me and you also stand in the line. He says, now you stand there. So he now counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He says, now there are 10 people are here. Then he asked, how come when you counted, I had 9 people? He said, you forgot yourself to count. You didn't include yourself in the 10. That is why you had only all 9 people all the time. Had you counted yourself in the 10, you would have got the 10th man. So after discovering the 10th man, do you want to go and again search for the 10th man again? You do not need to. Because you all resolved the ignorance. So that is what it says here, that it is available in the person's mind for recognition. So once you understand this concept, then you don't have to worry about anything. Correct? So Jyotisham api tad jyotihi tamasah paramuchyate jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam hridi sarvasya vishtitham. So the Jyotisham api jyotishi is a very important word. In fact, in Aditya Hridayam also is there. Most of the texts, they have this Jyotisham api jyotihi, light of the lights. So the sun itself is Swam Prakashaha. The sun does not need to be told to illumine, correct? Because the sun is not doing an action called illumining. The sun's swabhavaha or its nature is to illuminate. So it is not doing an action called illumining. Illumining is its nature. So there is no other sun other than the sun. So there is no second sun called a sun number 2 to tell sun number 1 that you should illuminate. Correct? The same way here also, there is only one Atma, which is the source of all the light in all the minds. There is no second Atma other than what you already have. So it is called, Atma is called light of the lights, Jyotisham api jyotihi. So this light is called Jnanam, which is above knowledge and ignorance, meaning pure consciousness. It is also to be known as that which is called Param Brahma or Paramatma, and is available in the Hridi, in the mind of every person, without exception. Correct? Because in the living beings, in the animal, there is no mind there. They don't have the buddhi. If they had the buddhi, then they, as soon as you stand in front of them, they will say, oh, Sridharji standing there, Vedanta student there. He is got to attend the class. If you say, look, I'm a student, please leave me. So the tiger says, oh, so you are so-and-so student? I leave you. Unfortunately, it cannot. Because it doesn't know that kind of buddhi. What it will do, you go and tell the student, the tiger, don't pounce on me, it will pounce on you. Because it doesn't have buddhi. So that is why Atma or the consciousness is not to be searched for by the animals. They don't have anything like this. They do not have concept called Punyam and Papam. They just live, they are programmed like this. But human beings are not programmed like this. They are programmed in a different way. We have something called the intellect, the buddhi, the mind, by which you have to discern what is the truth. Hope you're getting it right. Any questions so far in these two verses? Anyone has got any questions? Have I made it clear before I go to the next one? Radhaji, you're okay?
Yes, Ji. I can follow.
Hema, any questions from you? So far you're following?
All good. All good, Shankar.
Now, in verse 18, he talks about now who is eligible to get this or fit to gain him. So again, when he talks about gaining him, it is not like going to attain Krishna. So you cannot say that I'm going to one day know Krishna. What it says here is that you're already Bhagavan. You do not need to go and search for the Bhagavan. If you understand my true nature, you're already one with me. So whenever he says here that you have to be ready to achieve me or to become with me, it means what? You already applied the logic, applied all the qualities described before, and you become a bhaktaha. You have become one with the Lord. That's what he talks about here. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam. Nyeyam choktam samasataha. Nyeyam choktam samasataha. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam. Nyeyam choktam samasataha. Madbhakta etat vijnaya. Madbhakta etat vijnaya. Madbhavo upapadhyate. Madbhavo upapadhyate. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam. Nyeyam choktam samasataha. Madbhakta etat vijnaya. Madbhavayo upapadhyate. So, in this way, iti kshetram, thus, iti kshetram means thus the kshetraha which has been described before. As well as tata jnanam. So, kshetram has been described before and jnanam also has been described before. Kshetra jnanam also described before. Jnanam and nyayam, knowledge and that is to be known. So, knowledge also that is to be known. Kshetram, kshetragyaha. Knower of the field and the field. Cha uktam samasataha. So samasataha means I told you brief. Uktaha means say. Uktaha means say. So uktam samasataha. Cha uktam means all this and has been explained to you in brief. Samasataha so far. The second line talks about the qualification. Madbhaktaha. So Madbhaktaha means the one who is only committed to me. The one who is committed only to me and nothing else. He is not a multitask person. Somebody who is doing multitasking means what? All different things are there. I will do this, I will do that, I will do this. All the things are there. No. He says you are committed only to this particular study of line of Shastra, you will commit only to this. Sometimes, the people do not have any God belief, right? They follow Shastra very quickly because all the prachane kadayadu. because they are not actually inclined, they don't know anything. So clean slate. So for them it is easy to adapt. But for the person who is actually deep rooted in samskarams, somebody who's been traditionally a very Vaidika family, for them to leave something difficult. Because when all these things come, they go rush back again to the same thing. It's like, when a crab, when it is threatened or when it comes out, see, the crab wants to come out occasionally. A crab lives in the hole, right? Under that, correct? And a crab, what does it do? It always tries to come out and see people are there or not. And it will try to come out little while. Then it sees, oh, I have come very far. I come very far from a place. It's not very far. He has only come 2-3 steps, a little bit from the place where it is staying. He looks around and says, oh, it is a different world altogether. He'll again go back. Again, it will come back. So it keeps going and coming back because it is not sure about what he's going to do next time. Only when the crab decides that the seabed is, it has to cross that particular line of defense and has to go into the water. Then what does it do? It takes, you have seen, right? See, when you watch animals, you should see this. See, in the Uddhava Gita, the Acharya says that I learned from 24 different, gurus. Gurus are spider and, crab, mountain, river. He learns everything. Birds, he talks about that. I learned from all, they are all my teachers. Because they all give different perspective of their life. If you look at the bird also, right, they are very, very selective. If you feed the bird in the morning, Bhuta Yajna. So if you feed the bird in the morning, it gets used to the particular time. It will come between the particular time every day, correct? If you don't feed at a particular time, it is not going to come and wait for you all the time. It will come at a particular time, it will wait for, it will come and see who is there, food is there, it will go away. It will go and serve another food. Vairagyam. It doesn't depend on you. It will go to somebody's house and it knows what correct. And if you don't feed at all, it will never come again. Is it right? You've seen that? What it means is that if you do not feed knowledge, you will forget like the bird also. So this is how it's taught in the Uddhava Gita. See, everything teaches you Vedantic. So all these birds are all the Vedantas. They live a life of Vedantic life. Spider, Vedanta. So same he says here that Mad Bhaktaha means the person who is devoted only to me in totality. He is not committed to other pursuit of knowledge. Mad Bhaktaha Etat Vijnaya. So in this way, a person who knows this very clearly, Etat Vijnaya, Mad Bhavaya Upapadyate. So Mad Bhavaya means what? He is in a condition to reach me or to know me as to who I am. So you have to apply all the qualities. Mad Bhavaha means what? Mad Bhavaha equal to that which is to be understood. Jnanam, Jneyam, Kshetram, Kshetragyaha. And what is Atma? You should know what is Kshetragyaha. Kshetragyaha is equal to all the definition we gave before. Right? All of them. Kshetram is equal to what? All the definition we saw before. Jnanam is equal to what? Definition we saw before. Jneyam, to be arrived. Right? All of them a person is able to assimilate, understand, and he is committed to this. He or she is committed to this pursuit, only this pursuit. Mad Bhaktaha, Mad Bhavayo. So Mad Bhaktaha, Mad Bhavayo, two important words. So Bhava is also important. So you cannot just be a Bhakta without Bhavaha. I'm a great Bhakta, but you do not have Shraddha. Commitment is not there. So there should be Bhavam also should be there. You must be committed and also be sincerely committed, totally committed also. For such a person only, this knowledge is useful. It's called Mad Bhavaha Upapadyate. For such a person, it is available and he can reach me. Is this clear, this verse? Iti Kshetram Tatha Jnanam Nyeyam Choktam Samasataha Madbhakta Etad Vibhyaya Madbhavayo Upapadhyate. So, the next topic, I'm just going to introduce the topic this class. Then maybe next week I'll continue with the actual discussion. Here he again goes back to his favorite topic called Prakriti and Purushaha. So Prakriti and Purushaha. According to Krishna, he says Prakriti and Purushaha are one and the same. They are not two different things. One is undivided and other one is divided. But the division is possible only when there is something called undivided. So something can come out of only something is there, correct? You cannot produce out of nothing. The Shunyavadi, what they say is here, they see the other way. They say Prakriti is supposed to be everything, Atma is only a beneficiary. So the Shunyavadinaha, the Nayayika, Vaisheshikas, they are the Charvakas. They are the other philosophers. According to them, what they say is Prakriti is the one which is responsible for sustaining everything. And Atma is the result of the Prakriti. So according to them, Atma is different, Prakriti is different. So Prakriti continues to evolve on its own. And Atma also continues to be there all the time. And what they say also is this Prakriti is the one which is the sustainer of the universe. This whole balance created, correct? See, if you look at the whole, the Chandramandalam, Surya Mandalam, etc., the orbital world, the planets are orbiting according to what is already programmed, right? It is Prakriti only. It is already programmed, it is operating in a particular cycle. This daylight comes, sun, we have weekends, we have, morning, evening, everything comes at a particular time. Year just keeps going, months keep going, it just keeps going. The sun doesn't come and fall, the moon doesn't come and fall, the star doesn't come and fall. They are all operating at their own frequency, etc. According to Vedanta, what we say is that this entire cosmos is sustained, Bhuta Krit, Bhuta Brit, Bhavaha. We saw before, right? So the Atma is the one which is responsible, sustainer of the creator, the protector, and also the resolution of the universe. But according to this other school of philosophy, they are saying that this is not the truth. There is an intelligent creator, this person behind it, who is responsible for maintaining this whole thing. And Atma is not this. Atma is something which is experienced, and Prakriti is different. So which we are going to see this version of what the Vedantic view says and what the Charvakaha or the Buddhist philosophy say. Sometimes you need to understand this philosophy. Why? Because you will meet somebody randomly. You are studying Vedanta now for me some time. It's possible that you'll go one day and you'll end up with a discussion which you don't want to. Somebody will come and say, see, all these are useless. And because of your commitment to Shraddha, study, etc., you tend to say, see, don't say like this. This is all not correct. You do not know anything at all. So you will ask, oh, so do you know everything? So, yeah, I know everything. And I can tell you what it is. So you'll end up in an argument like this. And When you end up in an argument like this, because you have some knowledge, you can talk about it. Other person has got no knowledge, zero knowledge. So he can throw whatever things at you. Now it is for you to, when you open your mouth and tell that you know, then you are obligated to respond in a particular manner. But you cannot argue against this kutarka vadina. You know what I'm saying? When somebody is out to just, outwit you, or they call manda buddhi vadina. So manda buddhi vadina mean dull-witted people. They are just there to argue. If you just ask them, why do you ask? Oh, just like that. I would like to know, just like that. And they are really not interested in learning anything from you. They are not interested. They are only interested to express their viewpoint and make sure that they put you in a position of uncomfortableness. This is their view. Without knowing, you do not know this. So, in the study of Shastram, this philosophy is being taught also along with this. Not to great extent in Bhagavad Gita, but somewhere we also talk about Upanishad. There's a lot of discussion about this. If you study Upanishad with me, you will see there's a lot of discussion about this philosophical question people ask about a lot of things. Yeah, all this Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, I said all this, you cannot say Brahman. See, when you can show Brahman to anybody, you can show to anybody else. See, this is exactly the view you got. See, when you say I saw Brahman, he saw Brahman as what? As the image of the Sharada Devi which you would have seen. He would have been worshipping something, the image would have come to him in some form. Brahman cannot be seen because in any Vedanta physics school you stay, if somebody says, I can visualize Brahman, that means he does not know Brahman at all, completely. You can safely assume that this person doesn't know Vedanta. Vivekananda doesn't speak like this. Vivekananda knows. See, when you are in bhakti, in the bhakti chamber, supposing you are bhakti towards a particular idol or worship, that particular experience will come to you in every thought and experience, correct? You cannot separate it. You cannot take that experience to be the truth. You cannot say that in that experience I was very happy. Brahman is happiness, therefore Anandaha, I found it like this. You cannot say this. It is still that experience or that image will not be there every time with you. You cannot see that experience every day because every day it's not possible to see that. For you to believe that it has to be seen every day, every second, every nanosecond, always you should be able to see it. If you are able to see it, then you can assume it. But it is not possible to see it because it changes. Whatever you see now is not the same thing next moment. So how can you show somebody when the event is already past? You cannot show an event which is past already, correct? See, when somebody says, I can come and show your house, see, they are Siddhargal. See, Siddhis are different. Siddhargal has got occult powers. Occult power means they have powers by which they can sense, they can tell you something. But whatever they tell you today may not be the same thing tomorrow. Things will change. It may improve or it may decrease, but it will not be the same thing, correct? So that is why you must never believe this kind of theory. As students of Vedanta, when somebody tells you that I see Brahman clearly, is like this Akaraha, we always say what Brahman is Nirakaraha. In the afternoon class, what we talked about, Nirakaraha, correct? So whatever shape you see, Brahman will take the shape. Thought will take the shape. Correct. Because that's what Ahankara is the one which is the one taking the shape of any object. So if nothing is there, it will assume shape of nothing. And you go to sleep state, Ahankara is not there, thereby nothing is resolved. But when Ahankara wakes up, you see the object, that knowledge takes place, object is realized, that form is realized. So it can be in Kaikam, Manasam, Vachikam, whatever it is there, it is still a cognition, it is still an experience, it's a cognition. And that is all possible because of Brahman being there. Brahman itself is not visible, but due to his power of Jyotisha, Jyotihi, it is revealed in the form that. And that form is only Asatyam, it is not the truth. Is it clear, Gopalji? Sometimes we will refute even these people also, because it is not that they are all great jnanis, etc. Sometimes you will find this in different contexts, books like this. If your vision is very clear, Shastra is very clear, you will never waver from any of these things. That is why this particular discussion, Prakriti and Purushaha, is a discussion which I will cover next class, or introduce other schools of thoughts also to some extent, for you understand what they are thinking about. Okay. So this class, are you comfortable? Are you all clear? Okay. So we'll stop the class here and we'll continue next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste and Shubhratri to all of you. Hari.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.